In this episode of the IT Experts podcast, we talk with the amazing Nigel Moore from the Tech Tribe, and it's okay not to be okay. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast, the only podcast to help MSPs scale to 1 million, and if already there, get to 5 and go faster. At the end of the day, isn't it all about building a business that works for you rather than you for it? I hope you enjoy the show. So, good morning, good afternoon. Shit, I haven't put my bloody things down, hang on.
Can you put that into the outtakes to kick the thing off?
Yeah, we can. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast. Thank you. We're all in a bit of a fluster this morning because we've just left a bit of an outtake at the beginning. But welcome to the show again, Nigel Moore, all the way from Australia.
G'day. Thank you for having me again.
No worries whatsoever. We've already had a right old chuckle so far this morning. It's late in the afternoon, late in the evening for you, early in the morning. You've disrupted everybody's family doing this, but that's fine, and that's okay to be okay. And welcome to the show again, Nigel. It's always great fun having you on the show, not only just because of your chirpy little nature, but also the great value that you can add to the community and also the podcast. And today we're going to go a bit vulnerable, actually. And we're going to talk about it's okay not to be okay. And what we mean by this is, come towards the end of the year, everybody's like just getting ready to relax for Christmas. So everyone relaxes for Christmas. Most people get ill because their immune system just absolutely dies. They go away, drink too much, eat too much, and then end up in this whole new year, new me sort of thing. And they get into January and it can be quite a scary place. And then you get through January, which is where we're at, recording at the moment. And then all of a sudden people are thinking, well, am I performing properly? Is my business going well? Am I going to do anything different this year and everything like that? And you get this whole mental health kind of expectation overwhelm that can happen, particularly, in the MSP space. So we're just going to have a chat today about, I know Nigel's story and I know many of you do as well. But before we dive into the main subject, Nigel, if there is anybody on the planet who does not know who you are, do you want to just quickly explain who you are, what you do, and who do you help?
Those people are lucky if they haven't heard me. Very simply, we serve and support MSPs all around the world through a business called the Tech Tribe, where we fill it up with training, coaching, resources, and an awesome community to connect MSPs together as they go through the crazy journey of running a business like ours. That's it in a 4-second nutshell.
In a nutshell. And it's an amazing community, and you're going to get a load of a shameless plug towards the end of the show. Virtually, I think 90% of all of the Growth Hub clients are in the Tech Tribe. It is an amazing place. And we had the pleasure of meeting Nigel in person back end of last year when he came over for his Christmas break.
Throwing axes and
throwing axes and shotguns.
Yeah, virtual shotguns, virtual clay pigeons in London.
Laser shotguns, and hasten to say there was a few tender heads the next day, particularly from the London one. But it was great to meet up with you anyway. So right, overwhelm, expectation exchange. The MSP. We know most of the MSPs have started their journey as a techie. And now all of a sudden, as the business starts to grow, they've got to deal with the whole business thing and leadership and people and customers and asking for money and all of this horrible stuff. Now, generally anyway, this can be really hard to learn these new skills. But let's start off by talking about the personal vision that most people have, the whole idea of us running our businesses. And we talk about a lot of this in the Growth Hub, and I know this is something really close to your heart, but, the reason for, running the business is to have great experiences with the family, to leave a legacy, to have all of these things that we think about every now and then. But when we get into overwhelm, we totally forget what we're, the whole reason of us running these businesses. And, how do you, I suppose either personally or for what you're seeing in the channel, Nigel, what's, how much emphasis should we be placing on that vision or on that, on the ultimate purpose in our life, I guess?
More than what we do now. That's the easy answer. And I think all of us, that's the easy answer out, but all of us are at different spots on our journey, right? And we're all evolving through this continuum of getting better and growing a business and growing our leadership skills and whatever. And I remember at a certain stage in my MSP, I didn't have a why. My why was so simple. It was to make enough money to pay my credit card bill so the bank doesn't come at my door and cause me not to be able to eat. that was it. And that was when I was in the first instances of my journey. I was kind of stressed like crazy. I was 50 grand in credit card debt, and I was trying to get this business off the ground. All I knew is that I loved technology and I loved helping other people. And I had a bunch of credit card debt and no money coming in the door. And so my why was a tiny little why. And it was this but it kept me going because it was like food or no food. But then as I evolved and money starts coming in the door, your why evolves and your reason for doing things evolves. And in those early stages, I wasn't thinking about why I was doing stuff more than just getting up every day and just doing it. As you evolve and the more you go on in your journey, the more like you get to a point where money starts to flow a little bit freer, and you go, oh, well, money's flowing freer now. And some people think that that's when things get easier, and often that's when things get harder because the money's flowing in, and we then go, hang on, we're now. You get to that point where a lot of people end up having an existential crisis, and they're in there going, well, hang on, I didn't really have a why, or my why has now been resolved. What's my new why? And so when I said more than we do, what I really meant that in that most 99% of people out there, me included, do not spend enough time at that 20,000 foot view, looking down on our life and our business and our family and our relationships, and just writing a few things down about why we're doing this. What do we want out of these things? And I think the end of the year, the beginning of the year is often seen as always a good time to go and do that stuff and do a bit of a refresh. Personally, I'm not one for New Year's goals because I'm not a great big goal setter. I'm a direction setter, and I often set directions and they go, all right, I'm just going to charge hell for leather in that general direction as fast and as far as I possibly can, working hard. And I'm not going to set too many goals in there because I'll fail on them 99% of the time, or I'll blow past them, or I won't get anywhere close to them. And I don't want to feel like that's a bad thing to me. So instead I set direction. I say, all right, we're going down this direction and we're just going as hard and fast as I possibly can. And to me, that takes a little bit of a weight, or the cognitive weight off potential failures for not reaching goals when I go and set things in there. And it's a little bit counterintuitive. I do also weigh it up with a few bits of like quantitative goals in there from time to time. But for me, directions work because I know that I work hard and I work fast, and I try to work smart sometimes. I'm not the best at it sometimes, but I just find that direction process helps me, especially around this time of year.
See, that's really funny because both you and I have probably got about the same energy levels. But that to me, if I did that, that sounds like hard work. That, for me to go in one direction, like with the afterburner, flying at the back of my feet as I'm running forward, because I wouldn't know when to stop. And I know that if I went along with that approach, I would burn out because I just go. Oh. So what I do is I set intentions. So I set what I want to, try and build the best relationship I possibly can with the family, create these amazing experiences. So where they're not like, tangible, I want to earn so many hundreds of thousands of pounds or whatever it might be in a year. It's like things that you want to create so that I suppose you could kind of call them softer goals. But, we talk a lot about the MSP journey, and what you've just described there is kind of like the first stage is when people move up, from survive into drive. So they've got the bills that have been paid. And oh, crikey, we've got a business now. Oh, God, now I've got an employee because I'm too busy, and all these other things that come in and overwhelm. What other areas do you see are common within MSPs, and particularly maybe in the tech tribe, where people get themselves into overwhelm, or they get themselves into, I suppose, technically a bit of a kerfuffle in their mind?
The vast majority of the time it's people, right? Like as you said, you bring on that employee, you then bring on the second, maybe admin employee, like maybe a tech and an admin person or whatnot. And because most of us that start MSPs, as you said, are techies to start off with. We're not business owners. We've got no leadership skills. We've got no management skills. We've got great tech skills. We can go and hack the crap out of an Office 365 Azure AD tenant, but we can't figure out how to go and lead and manage people. It's kind of counterintuitive to us. And so I see the biggest cause for overwhelm in nearly every MSP I ever speak to is that whole transition across to people management and people leadership, and both those routes, learning how to craft a vision for your company and to make it compelling enough for a team to come along, as well as how to hold a team accountable and how to manage a team day to day and bring the best out in them as their manager. And those two things often in a small business get wildly neglected, especially for us where it's not our default mode of operating. We'd rather go back and solve another exchange issue or whatever it happens to be. I'm showing my age there. It's not exchange issues anymore. It's Azure AD issues, but I sold my MSP 6.5 years ago now. So I'm a little bit behind the times when it comes to tech. But to me, though, that's one of the biggest ones out there. Is just once the team starts to come into place and it starts to the business starts to take more of a mind of its own, essentially, and it starts to morph and grow into something of its own. That's when the techie started owner then starts to get that crazy level of overwhelm, not realizing that, hey, you've got a tech here that's past their honeymoon period, and you've got an admin person that's past their honeymoon period, and now they need some sort of leadership. They need some sort of management. You've got to get in and learn how to do that and play around with how to do that and practice things and make mistakes and try different things to experiment to see what works for your leadership style and your management style, and what works for what they're after as well, what your team is after as well.
And it's really funny because when Stuart and I set the Growth Hub up, we set up, our love around leadership, and we thought, this is just going to be for the big guys. But it's not. If you've got one person, or you've got one child, you're a leader, whether you like it or not, because people are looking at you, people are looking at you for support, they're looking at you for help and
vision.
Yeah, that's right.
Where are we going? Where are we going? And so many of us get caught out not giving enough of that to our teams to bring them along for the ride, me included. I've gone through a number of crises in our team where I've got this whole big, crazy, awesome vision up here in my head, and the team is plodding along doing their day-to-day, and they start to show fatigue, or they start to lose engagement. And I sit down, and as you dive into why, and the reason is because they don't see what's in my head, and I haven't done a good enough job of getting it out of my head and into their head so that they can see the vision for where we can take this thing. And I think it's a mistake most of us make at some point in our journey in the leadership.
Yeah, I think that's the first takeaway from today is that, if you aren't okay, if you're not happy, if you're getting up every morning and you're going, oh my God, I can't be bothered to do this, or I've got these problems and I've got to deal with this, and this wasn't what I signed up, and you kind of feel that you got caught up in this washing machine, go back to the beginning and go back to the vision, the purpose, whether it be personally or whether it be on the business, and go, where are you going with this? What do you want to do? Because the most important thing is with your team of any size, whether they're employees or whether they're contractors or whatever it might be, they're the ones that are going to help you row the boat in that direction. And as I say many, many times, you're never going to build a house, fly a plane, or go on holiday if you haven't got a plan. It's just not going to happen, right? So have a plan for your business, however simple and however straightforward it might be, but just sit down.
Just to focus on the word simple there, like simple is awesome. Simple is the way it should be. And I see too many people go, well, plan equals a 28-page business plan. I'm going to go download this template and fill this thing out over a 6-month period, and there you go. I'm going to send that to my team, and that's where we're going, and that's going to excite them. That's probably the worst thing in the history of the world that you could do at that point in time. And I'm sure inside the MSP Growth Hub, you guys are, from what I've seen, have got some great templates for just really quick, rough as enough planning for that kind of 1-page, 2-page vision of where you're going as a company, like 10-year vision, 3-year vision, 1-year vision, like.
Yeah, and do you know what? I was just going to come on to that because it's like when MSPs come and join us, we do a deep dive growth planning session, and they walk in, and you can see them walking in with all the baggage in the world. They've got like 7 rucksacks. They open up, this lorry turns up with all their worries and their woes and all their previous business plans that are still in the envelopes and everything like that. And then they sit down, and we go, right, and chill, and we go super, super wide, and within about 5 hours they walk out with 3 action points, and they look there and go, shit, how did you do that? How did you get? I said, no, so you don't talk about that. I don't want you talking about these things. I want you talking about these 3 things, and this is all you need to worry about for the next 16 weeks. Thank you very much, good night. And it was like they just sit there in absolute like bemusement. It's like, how did you do that? And it's simple because we know how to organize, and like yourself, with some of the coaching that you do and understand how the business world works, is that you just need to just chop out all the noise, because it really, really does go down to Pareto's law, the 80-20 rule, that you only need to do 20% of the stuff that you do in the day in your life at all to create 80% of the results. And that is so, so true. And we overcomplicate it because naturally as MSP business owners, high S, high C on the DISC scale, which means they're very steady and they're very compliant. Everything's got to be right. And the fear of not getting it right and the fear of mucking something up or making a decision and you being made to look silly is just far outweighs any gain that you could possibly get.
Yeah, until you have your first experience of building an entire 6 months business plan on one sheet of paper and realizing how not only gratifying but helpful and clear the process is, then you go, holy crap, I did that whole historical frame of reference I had around these massive business plans and everything is just completely incorrect. And that's what I think programs like yours are awesome, because they help people flip that belief system pretty quickly.
And then it's about listening to other people, and like in your community, there is like listening to what other people go, oh, do you know, I was thinking of doing that actually. And this is the power of I guess it's the second part. And I've got this script, right? And I do this all the time, and we're not even following it. So we're just going off. Nigel and I just hit the record button and we're just chatting.
Forget the script.
Yeah, forget the script.
Just pick a word. One word.
Number 2 on the action plan from this, which Nigel doesn't know, but he's not going to be surprised, is the C word. It's community. So look, you've got this plan. You're getting yourself out of overwhelm. But if you're still feeling an overwhelm, go and have a look. I've never worked in a business sector like this, right, where people are so sharing, they're so open, they're so loving, they're so caring, and I'm not getting all gooey on you on a Monday morning, but it's bloody true. They are just, some of the sharing that goes on in our community and your community is mind-blowing. So if you're feeling that you're not okay and you're getting a bit stressed and you're getting overwhelmed, dive into a community, dive into the Tech Tribe, dive into CompTIA, dive into the Growth Hub, whatever it is that you want to be, because what people will see on a day-to-day basis, particularly in your feed, Nigel, is someone going, oh, I was thinking of doing that. I didn't know if I could do that. Oh, that's it. And then what happens is you get a little confidence pill, and then you'll flick across to another thread, and someone else will say the same thing, and then you'll get another confidence pill, and then before you know, oh, do you know what, I might try this. And you must see that quite a bit in your community, Nigel.
All the time. And it's a double-edged sword. It's one of those things that's absolutely amazing, because the best way to learn about what the industry is doing and what your competitors are doing is to be in a community with them where they're sharing all about it. But you also have to temper it with your 20,000 foot goals as well. And so our industry is especially prone to shiny red object syndrome. And quite often we'll be in a community and we'll see someone go, oh, I've just done this. And everyone will go, oh, I've got to do that. So bang, there goes your one-page plan out the window. You've just thrown something else on there. So business, like one of the biggest things in business that I've learned is it's all about that balancing act between that idea and inspiration and what you have to execute on, and making sure that they align with what you're executing on aligns with whatever your 20,000 foot view is, and learning how to focus and practicing how to focus and building your focus muscle and being comfortable with saying no to a lot of things is one of the keys to success in any business. And the more, if I look at all the wildly successful people in our industry, one of the biggest traits that they have, or two of the biggest traits they always have, is they're always growth minded. They're always not only about growth in terms of client, but also growth in terms of their team and whatever. But number 2, they are doggedly focused, and all this other stuff comes in, and all these other ideas and thoughts and everything come in from communities and events and vendors throwing stuff down our throats and whatever. But they know that they've got this 20,000 foot view plan that they've gone and said, this is what we're doing for the next year. And they use that plan to decide what is a yes and what is a no as they're going through there. And it's such a trait that you see in the high achievers that all of the ones that are struggling are missing that trait and just need to work on it.
Absolutely. And when you come out of the new year, whether you do what Nigel does, which is point a direction, light the touch paper and go, whee, we're off, or you do a little bit more structured, like me. Oh, crikey. My soundboard is now falling off the wall, which was the thing that caused the issue at the beginning of the show. Anyway, carry on, Ian. When you set intentions and when you set goals, and whether you're into manifestation or quite whatever it is, which is a really, really powerful thing, none of that stuff's going to work if you don't take action. And if you take action on the wrong things, as you've just mentioned there, Nigel, shiny ball syndrome, this industry is horrific for that. Paul Green mentioned a little while ago a thing called a timula, which is the little capsule that got one of them in the drawer. Don't even know if it's charged up anymore. We had a thing in the thread the other day with the guys about Remarkables, the electronic notepads.
Got one of them. Yep.
I should have got an affiliate link. I could have made a fortune doing that. Really? They turned up the intensive a couple of weeks later, and they've all got them.
Everyone had one. Shiny red objects.
Yeah, that's right. But once you've got that plan, and once you've got that 3 things that you're going to focus on that's going to help you, then what actions do you need to do to move it forward just a little bit this week, this month, this quarter, or whatever it might be. And if you find yourself going, oh, bloody hell, we dropped the ball on that. We haven't done as much, I don't know, sales and marketing, or we didn't get that PSA in place. What's got in the way? And it'll be a shiny ball where someone's gone, oh, that's exciting. Because, you know, as we know, techies they're all up for the next bit of software, the next bit of, and when they come in here, we get them to list down all the systems that they use. And we do an exercise called the business model canvas, and we say, who's your partners and your suppliers? And if they fill that box, it's normally a case of, right, okay, we got to go right back to basics here, because
12 backup systems and 19 antivirus vendors that they've trialed, and each client's got a different one. And
that's right, yeah. Let alone you could probably save them 20 grand a month just by cancelling subscriptions on stuff they don't use anymore. That's right. Let's change tact a little bit, and this is something we were talking a little while ago, which was absolutely wonderful, about your beautiful son, who is currently up for sale, isn't it? Your son, you got no problems.
He is a weapon of mass destruction when you travel with him, internet across time zones.
He does not like flying, bless your little heart. Work-life balance. So we've got our purpose, right? But ultimately, you know, everything revolves around, you know, what legacy, what do we want to do with our friends and family? You know, what challenges have we got outside of work and everything like that? How's your work-life balance? How do you manage to, this is throwing you right under the bus now, isn't it? This could go one or two ways.
It's all seasons for us all, right? And I think we're always in different seasons. We're always ebbing and flowing between too much work, too little work, too much family, too little family, too much this, too much that. And what I think happens, or what's happened for me traditionally over my journey in business, is that when I was younger and dumber, then what those fluctuations would be wild. Like I would go so deep into the business world that I'd neglect the crap out of every single relationship around me. And then I'd go so deep into the relationship and partying world that I'd neglect business completely. And then over time, those fluctuations tend to ebb and flow a whole lot less. And I think the more we go through business, I don't think we ever get to a point of absolute perfect equilibrium in there, because there's competing priorities all the time. I don't know if there's anybody in the world that I've ever spoken to or come across that feels like they're 100% fully balanced across everything: their health, their wealth, their relationships, their family, their business. But I think the fluctuations get smaller and smaller between those things. Hopefully, if we're evolving and growing and maturing as a business owner, as a leader, as a husband, wife, partner, as a parent, and whatever. And so I like my parenting was certainly challenged in the last month while we were traveling through Europe. But I see it as, like, you see it as a challenge, but I also see it as an opportunity to upgrade in there and to learn from crazy situations. And taking 3 under 10-year-olds through many different time zones all around the world certainly does that to you. And so there was some times in there where I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing here. But you do the best that you can, and as I said, as long as you're continually evolving and learning from all those situations, we can't unlearn any of these things, and we can't unevolve in this stuff. And so I see my journey in this stuff as never being in complete equilibrium, but always getting better at spotting when I'm out of equilibrium wildly, or figuring out ways to get back into it quicker if I have fallen out of it and whatnot. I think it's more an evolution of maturity in there. I just don't know if there's ever any perfect spot, and if anybody out there has ever got to one, I'd love to hear from you, because as yet I've never seen anyone in perfect unity across their entire life. But I think honestly, like you and me, Ian, we're our brains are probably riddled with ADHD like there's no tomorrow. That whole up and down and whatever provides novelty to us, right? And it provides variety, and it provides fun and things to time into. And if our lives were just this straight, boring, standard thing, I think I would be bored out of my brain. If I didn't have times where I had stresses and challenges and all sorts of stuff, I would be bored. I would be sitting there thinking life sucks, right? But I've got all of these stresses and challenges, and I see stress as an awesome thing. I don't see it as a scary thing. I see it as an awesome thing, because it's always an opportunity for me to upgrade something in my world, be it a knowledge or skills or people or leadership or whatever it happens to be in there.
Yeah. And just think of the experiences, you know, as you did that epic journey around Europe, you know, the experiences and the memories and the photos and everything that, you know, that you've created with the family. I know that, you know, we all get challenges, you know, we've all got our own little demons that we need to deal with. And I think one of the things, I don't think there is such a thing as a work-life balance. I think it's probably only something that people in corporate, you know, talk about. But I think there is an element of it's probably almost like a bit of work life respect. And what I mean by that, kind of speaking from personal experience, is understanding, what's going on around you and understanding who's expecting what. And I'm not going to go into details on this one, but we had that situation early this morning, didn't we, Nigel? You texted me at 2:00 this morning, which I didn't get until earlier on. Then I managed to have some massive incommunication with some people in the house, which caused a bit of a fluxing situation in the Luckett household.
I have ruined the Luckett household.
You have ruined the Luckett household. But
not allowed in the UK for the next year.
There might be some acts. No, it's not quite as bad as that. What I'm getting at is that what matters to us might not be what matters to our loved ones. So, when you hear things like, oh, are you coming home early, or are we going out for a meal, or we're doing this, or we're doing that, the reason that people are saying those things to you is because they matter to them. So, and I think I've spent so many years not disregarding it, but probably not listening properly. And if you listen properly, when you get into, arguments, or you get into a place of, stress or whatever it is, at home, if you actually look at what's going on around you, it doesn't take long to work out, although they said it doesn't matter what time you come home, it actually does matter, because they wanted to do something else, or something was going on, or they'd had enough of the kids, or that something else is going on like that. So I think there's probably a bit of work-life discipline. If you're going to, and it's one of the things that we say in leadership, do what you say you're going to do. When I was 25, I was leading a team for our local cable company here, and when we were putting in the fibre optic cable, and the first thing someone said to me was, they said, no matter what happens, just do what you say you're going to do. If you say that Friday at 4:00 I'm going to give you an answer on a report or something like that, if you haven't got that information, tell them on Thursday that they're not going to get the information. But be, open. Don't just not turn up. Don't just blank them. Don't just ghost them or anything like that. Just make sure that you respect those people. And and it's like it's also, we're going to talk about dog training now. When we've had a couple of Springer Spaniels, and if anybody knows, they're as mad as a box of frogs, or can be mad as a box of frogs. And our latest one has been probably as challenging as your son, to be fair. So we got some training, and the first thing this lady said to us was, what is going on in his world when he's like acting like an absolute nutter? Because it's Spaniels, no, it's not. And I now replay that to my son, who's got special needs, and they reckon he's got a bit of autism as well. And autism is amazing because A, you've got some superpowers, but B, it's bloody challenging. And luckily for us, he's kind of not that bad on the scale. But when you see that, no, I'm not doing that, or this isn't right, or that isn't right, as you say, go back to 20,000 feet, have a look down, what's going on? What's the environment? How's he feeling? How's the dog feeling? What's the dog doing? Why is the wife behaving like that? Gosh, crikey! All these people have changed since I've been doing this personal development stuff. I think that was one of Zig Ziglar's great sayings, wasn't it? It's amazing how people have changed. No, they haven't. You've changed, and it's a real fun thing to kind of look back, look at the situation. Put your big boy pants on or your big girl pants on, and try and work out why you're in that situation. Do you know what I mean?
It's a skill that is very underrated and very easy to actually pick up. And I remember when in my early years of starting my MSP, I had zero ability to be able to look at the 20,000 foot view. I was just in this myopic space where I was just focusing on eating and paying bills. And I'd lived like that because I'd never had any experience or exposure or anything to any manager or leader or business owner or anything that was able to step up to a 20,000 foot view. So I had no knowledge that you could even do that stuff. And so then I got to this certain point where I came across my first ever business planning thing where we were forced to sit in a room and to kind of jump up to that 20,000 foot view. And I'm like, holy crap, like I haven't been at this level, this kind of 20,000 foot view here for probably 10 years. I've never been here. I've never been in this 20,000 foot view. So it was new to me and it scared the crap out of me. I'm like, I don't belong here. I belong down in these trenches kind of thing. But with a little bit of work on meditation to be more self-aware around what's happening around me, I was able to skill myself up and train myself up to be able to regularly now pull myself up to the 20,000 foot view. And I can be in the minutiae of the craziest, most minute detail and still pick myself up fairly easily. I'm not going to say perfectly, but fairly easily nowadays to say, hey, is this what you should be doing right now or not? 20 years ago, it was important. Like that didn't even happen. Those thought processes didn't happen. And I'm going to say, when I say it's an easy skill to pick up, it's not something that's going to take you years to develop that kind of cognitive ability to zoom up pretty quickly into your world. It only takes a matter of just putting some intentional effort over a matter of weeks and months, perhaps with a reminder up in front of your computer to spend once a week or once every second day, just spending 5 minutes at the 20,000 foot view. Maybe you've got a nice book beside your desk, like a white space book, like an artist book, where you just draw out a couple of things each day, which I've done a lot in the past, where I'm kind of drawing out what the 20,000 foot view of maybe an org chart in our business looks like, or what our 10-year vision looks like, or what my why looks like, and all those sorts of things. And you just some little regular, tiny little bits of practice like that here and there will help you build and nurture that skill pretty darn quickly, to the point where it starts to become a little bit more second nature to you. And it's as I said, it's wildly underrated, but wildly important as well in business, to be able to catch yourself and take yourself up to that 20,000 foot view and then zoom straight back down into the weeds and get stuff done. I think it's such an important skill to have.
And just to add on to that, we, from our first podcast, the chat we had before that, we were talking about meditation. And you know what, ever since that first podcast, there's one bloody day I haven't done it. And it was when we were late getting up for a flight at Heathrow. And I just got up and realised the next day, you missed a day. I was like,
I think you can give yourself hall passes on flight days, I think.
Brilliant. Okay, I'll let myself off. Yeah, but it doesn't come up on my tracker. But, we talked about meditation and getting that time. And what Nigel was just explaining there about getting that time to, be deliberate with your thoughts and to be deliberate with your intentions and what you're going to do. Meditations helped me massively, because I was like this energetic ball of just chaos, a bit like yourself, Nigel.
Yep.
But once you discipline yourself to stop, to slow down, it's amazing the stuff that you just let go by and just doesn't bother you in the day, and you don't get involved in it. And I would definitely say that's another key thing. Get on the Headspace app.
For me personally, coupling it with daily journaling. So I think I'm 7 years in a row now where I haven't missed a day journaling, until my last trip, and I missed one day and I didn't realize until the next day, but it was a traveling day. And so I'm giving myself a hall pass for that. But for me, it's that time where my journaling for me is my time in the 20,000 foot space. And I'll often drill down into a challenge, and I'll write about whatever challenge I'm having, and I'll be thinking about it really slowly, because I write much slower than I can think. And I think that's the magic of it, is I get to think about my problems and my challenges really slow, and I think through them differently, and I write them down, and then I go, okay, well, and then 5 seconds later, I'll zoom up to the 20,000 foot view and say, okay, imagine if this plan takes off and we do this, and if we go down this direction or whatever. And that daily 10 minutes, whatever it happens to be, to me is wildly helpful to keep me flying up at like going up to huge level thoughts around my business, all the way down to what tiny little intricate detail needs to be shifted tomorrow. And it takes me away from being in the weeds and being away from technology and computers and everything to be able to go and do it. It's another awesome little habit that I personally really enjoy.
Fantastic. I'll have to try that one again. Or not again. I'll have to try it. Nigel, as always, this podcast could last between 12 to 15 hours, but we're going to cut it short because, number one, you need to get back to your family because it's about 9 o'clock at night. And number two, I need to crack on with my week. Thank you again for your time. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate your friendship and all the great stuff that you're doing for the MSPs in the Tech Tribe. If people want to learn a little bit more about Tech Tribe or about you, how do they get in contact with you, mate?
Easy. thetechtribe.com. thetechtribe.com. Everything's on there. And it's, as you would know, Ian, it's super cheap, super full of stuff. And you can come and try it out for a month. No contracts, no terms, no anything for less than a cup of coffee a day, like that old bloody overused saying goes. And if you think it's crap, you can take us up on our tribal taco guarantee, where we will pay you everything that you paid for us in the first month plus more back in return, so that you can buy yourself a plate of tacos, so that we can, as an apology for us for wasting your time. But I think in a history of the tribe, with something like 4,500, 5,000 people coming through it, I think we've given out 3 plates of tacos or 4 plates of tacos. So it doesn't happen very often.
Doesn't happen very often. Well, look, thetechtribe.com, or you can find them on all the socials, LinkedIn and all of that great stuff.
I'm not very good at them, though.
No, no, don't send him an email. That is the one way you can easily, if you never want to hear anything from him, send him an email. Nigel, thanks again for your time. Really appreciate it. All the best of luck for this year with the Tech Tribe, and
likewise.
All love to the family as well. Okay, mate.
Thanks, Ian.
Take care. Bye now. So I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, I'd love it if you could leave a rating and review on your favourite podcast platform. If you want to learn more about how to take your MSP to $1 million, or if you're already there, go faster, then come and join Stuart Warwick and myself in the Scale with Confidence Facebook group. The link is in the show notes. You go and enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.